Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 5 of the Peach Plant Podcast, featuring myself,
Woohoo.
Plant, joined by...
Oh, it's me, Ookamarii, or Momo, or Peach.
I feel like I'm getting pretty standardized with my intro, and every time I do that, you're still caught off guard of like, and me. And it's
I thought you were going to be like, every time you just keep changing the order of the names, and it's just...
No, it's just like
absolutely.
You're next. So, yeah, like we said, welcome to episode 5. Pleasure to have you here, as always. Today we're kind of, in the last episode, we were a little reminiscent on nostalgia and kind of stuff like that. And then, like we had mentioned in the last episode, by the time you would hear that episode, we would be married. So, yay! We are now married.
We got pretty rings.
We do. And we were just kind of sitting here thinking about, next chapter in our lives.
Got some big change.
Big change. Mo has a brand new job and just kind of stuff like that. And we're thinking like, man, how did we get to the point that we're at right now? And it's very interesting to see what's happened in the past 2 years, and just almost thinking like, God, we were almost, I don't know if you could say nostalgia, maybe just missing, but just normal life.
Well, and especially with our favorite season coming along, like fall and winter and being inside, and I think we definitely romanticize that season with like all of the things.
Fall is the best.
Yeah,
it is just absolutely the best.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
if you disagree,
argue, then fuck off.
You're not the best. That's just how it works.
Ooh, yeah.
But we were just thinking of not really a COVID in review thing, but just kind of like how the pandemic has shaped us and how it has also feel like shaped the world of just a lot of different things, very interesting things. Now, before we do anything, we're going to address this right now. We understand that there are political connotations with a lot of this stuff, the pandemic and just everything that's going on. We're acknowledging that right now, and we're not talking about it again.
No, we're not getting political with it. Yeah. It's such an inappropriate topic to make political. No, we're not humoring it. We will delete any comments. We are completely going to heavily monitor that. We're not getting political in this.
Yeah, we're this whole show, and the reason for our channel and a lot of all of this is to entertain and to maybe enlighten on a perspective that just really would not be divisive. No matter what it is, or even if it is divisive, I feel like it's something that's just morally right.
Well, and we aren't even political people in general anyways, and it's like, that's just not part of our repertoire.
Yeah.
So
you guys are, we have you here to listen to us so that you can take your brain away from the reality of life almost for an hour or something like that, so that you can just, turn off, hang out with us, and we can give you at least a little bit of something, and just ranting on about the political landscape of everything that came with it is just, it's not it. So like we said, bringing it up, acknowledging it,
and we're done.
And it's gonna go, you can't see, I'm opening my hand. It's gonna go into the little story box right here. And we're gonna lock the key, and we're gonna yeet it into the center of the earth where it's never to be seen again, and we're never gonna talk about it. So
sounds great.
That's kind of where we're at right now. But
that being said,
yeah, I kind of want to just kick it over into your court, because the pandemic and everything has definitely hit you a lot harder.
Yeah.
And I feel like you would have a little bit more of a grasp on kind of like a
more relatable.
Yeah, more of a drastic response to it. I mean,
yeah, definitely.
Also, before we start, this is by no means going to be a pity party for us.
I think the reason why we want to talk about it, in my experience, I was hit really hard with this, like really hard in a lot of ways. And trigger warning, we'll talk about mental health and stuff like that too, and fluctuations of weight. So if that's triggering for you, maybe skip this episode, or if we're gonna kind of get into it, then skip 5 or 6 minutes, because I don't want to dwell on that too long. But what it should be more so this episode is things will get better. And I like to take my situation as proof of it, because I was one of those individuals that I grind hard. I hold myself to a really high standard, and I try to put myself in a good place and try to ride that ride. Pandemic hit, knocked me down to probably almost the bottom, is pretty darn low. and I would consider myself pretty back up there again, finding my stride. So yeah, it's not a pity party. I don't really want it. I don't care for it.
Yeah, we just want to be,
like
we want to be somewhat relatable with you guys, make you feel like you're not alone. This affected a lot of people, even people that, you know, maybe on this platform we seem like we've got a lot of stuff figured out, but at the end of the day, there's a lot of hardship that's still, even to this day, coming with the aftermath of everything that's
there's
going to
be a lot of change in aftermath with it too. But,
absolutely.
But yeah, so I guess we'll just hit the ground running. Let's see. Where were we when the pandemic started? So this is about May of 20...
It was earlier than that.
29... No.
It was earlier than that. Pandemic started around almost January of 2019.
Yeah. But I mean, kind of like quarantine and whatnot.
Quarantine started around
I feel like
March.
Quarantine was the kind of the beginning.
Yeah.
March. Yeah,
March was when
earlier.
I started working and there was no one in the office.
So I was still a university student, and I was in kind of like my last year of university, and you had just graduated in 2019 December
2018.
God, I was in college 2 years
July.
Whatever. I don't remember. But yeah, okay. And you were looking for jobs, and you had one that was kind of a soliciting job, and you were not.
We do not talk about that one.
We were not into it. It was really bad. Not good.
We kind of throw that one in the story box as well and yeet that to the core as well.
Yeah. So we won't talk about that. But you got an opportunity at a really wonderful place, and you are still there, and we love it. It's really great. Super into it. And so you started that job, and the pandemic hits. And
it was crazy. I mean, going in,
how lucky.
The whole interview process, seeing the world is normal. I went in for my interview. You know, I didn't do any online interviews. They did me a quick phoner to be like, hey, you know, you think you're cool, come in, do, you know, our real interview. Did that, and then that Friday that I interviewed, they called me again to be like, hey, got the job, wanted to let you know so you didn't dwell on it all weekend. And I was like, great. And when I went in there, I'm, you know, touring the whole floor at that point. We were only a floor. And all the people are there. Here's all your coworkers. Here's all these people. Cool. I got hired. 2 weeks later, I started, and there was not a single person in the office.
Yeah.
It was literally me and 6 other people.
Like your other new hires or something like that?
Yeah, including my instructor.
Yeah.
And I was like,
oh,
this is weird.
Yeah.
Like, I've
and
got
it was
a whole
pretty big space with lots of chairs, so it feels like a ghost town.
I had a full corporate floor of just emptiness, and it was all to us. And it was just kind of like, this is weird.
Yeah.
This is strange.
Yeah. Super weird.
Yeah. I'm just happy I didn't have to do the work from home. I did the work from home for
a little bit.
At some point during my employment, I worked from home for about a week and a half. And that was hell.
Absolutely, it was. You were so difficult during that. Oh my God. Since we're just married now, I can be totally open and honest. So we had like a little dining area. We lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, and Grant had a closed off office space. And it was really important that he had that closed off space because of streaming and noise, and we just wanted him to have that kind of space, and all of my stuff could fit in the living room. I had like a little tiny square in the living room, and you would refuse to work in your fucking office. You had to take over the kitchen table where I was doing Zoom calls all day, and by the way, and we'll backtrack to university in a second, but you were being so fucking difficult. But given hindsight, you were stressed and you didn't know what was going on, and it was a new job. And I was going through hell with university and being stuck at home all day, whereas there was an opportunity that you could have gone back into work. And so there was lots of high tension. We don't typically have conflict, but it was like, oh my gosh.
The week prior to that, so I was still training and having the week there training, and then go back to try and set up to train.
Lots of back and forth juggling. You had to bring home your setup, and it was like
good.
moving in and moving out
It was awful.
Like every other week.
It was truly awful. I do not work well at home. For like
lots of distractions.
There's a lot of distractions, and I'm just, I don't know. I'm
you need a separate environment.
I'm an environment person of like work. Go to work is where work is. Like I will do work at work. I will seldom bring my work home, but even then I'm still like, I'm home. Like I compartmentalize and I'm like, home is not
Once
where work happens.
Once you're through the door.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I had mentioned university. So I was still at, can we name drop? People know where we went to school.
Yeah.
Okay, so OSU, the Ohio State University, is where we both went to school.
Go Bucks.
So I'm going to refer to the university as OSU. So in the art department, they handled this in probably the worst way possible. So now, given the pandemic was a shock for everybody, staff, students, and, you know, hindsight, I can sit here and sympathize with the faculty that they're like, they don't know what's going on. So then the students don't know what's going on top of the already disorganized criteria that they had curriculum going on. It was a mess. But it was just not good. People were stuck at home. We couldn't leave. At the beginning of the pandemic, they were like, don't even go out for groceries. Just starve, honestly. And I was stuck at home all day long. All day, every day, trying to, and it was just at the beginning of a semester. It was a tail end, and then I had to start a semester in the pandemic, and they still didn't have stuff figured out. And so I started off the pandemic in pure frustration. It was really, really hard. And mental health quickly went crashing. And I will just say my mental health was in the shitter. I was probably depressed every single day for the whole main year of quarantine. And I gained a lot of weight too, still trying to get that off. But, you know, you don't have this motivation and you don't see the sun, you know, you don't go outside. And we lived right next to a strip club, and there was no like walking space, not a lot of greenery. It was fucking miserable. And on top of that, our below neighbors were, it was at the end of 2020. Our neighbors were in domestic violence stuff. I had called the cops on them twice. I called 911 once. And I've never had to do that before, and that was terrifying.
That was a blast.
And now, given we think that they're safe, but in short, what happened with that is they couldn't kick out the people below us, and they had a child too, so we didn't want to unhome them, but we wanted something to fucking happen, and we ended up just moving, which is why we're in the space we are now, and we love it. But anyways, yeah, so stuff's rocky with OSU. They aren't doing a good job of handling it, and I'm trying to get through my courses. And if you ever choose to go through university, there's no clear there's no clear path to go through university. There's a lot of subjectivity in how you can create your schedule, your path, if you're doing a dual major, or if you're minoring in something, or just doing a flat, you're just majoring. I had some courses that I needed to fulfill, like ceramics, in my last semester. And I couldn't take that course because it requires you to be on campus every day. Unless they send every student a pottery wheel and a kiln, it couldn't happen. And they were just digging in their heels on making these accommodations for students like that. And they just would say, fuck it. And so if somebody were to look at my transcripts, they'd be like, what happened here? It'd be like, doesn't matter. It was the pandemic. But, yeah. And what sucked too is, since I would be at home all day, you were at work, and I, sit back here and I look at, to no fault of anybody, I was like alone for almost a full year of like hours of time, aside from having the cats, like that fucks with your head quite a bit.
Absolutely. I mean, for the week of us getting married, I took off just, to make sure everything was prepped right, just so I could have a little bit of time just with you. And
to relax.
Yeah, and honestly, just to take a break. And you had to do some work things and you went away. And
I had to get like blood work done and shots.
It was like the first time I'd been alone in a while. And I just, I think I just like laid in bed the whole time. I'm just like, wow, this is fun. It's not. That was me.
Even
being
with the cats there, you know, it's just like,
it's just like, God. Damn, just being alone in your home, it's tough. And I mean, it's definitely a different psyche that you might have. Some different people, like I know some people that they live alone and they're just like, man,
they can thrive on it.
Got my cats. Whatever. I like being alone, doing whatever. And I'm just like,
you and I are both extroverts, so
I'm an extroverted introvert.
Yeah, pretty much. But like we really like to be around people. Grant and I thrive off of being in the same room, and like we could just be doing something completely different and whatever. Like just knowing that we're in the same building.
I enjoy the presence of people.
Yes.
I don't know if I always enjoy the interaction with people.
Yeah. But yeah, and that was my whole, I mean, it's even still to this day because I lost my job. The place that I went to work fell under a branch of education, and that since majority of educational places were closing down, this facility closed down, and so I lost my job. And I've had that job for 4 years, and they were just kind of like, well, we'll wait and see what happens. And it was only about a month ago when I just called them and I'm like, hey, I'm collecting references for applying.
Done waiting.
Well, I considered myself unemployed by finalized termination with the job by January because we moved, and I'm not going to give too much information on my position, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But essentially that was an appropriate time to consider that done. And so I'd called them and a month ago, I'm like, hey, I would like to get some references, applying for a job. It's kind of time to do that. Seems like the things have cleared up and the pools are expanding. And yeah, it was just weird to be able to 9 months into this year finally get a job. 10 months, almost 11. But
who's counting?
Yeah, anyways, so we had a big financial impact with it. Fortunately, I had a credit card, so I could put any purchases on there if I needed to. Grant was working, and he pretty much carried the whole team. My parents helped me out on my financial side quite a bit, which was greatly appreciated because I was still a student, so yeah, that was just a lot. And I'm sure there's so much more to it, right? But I don't want to dwell on the details. But yeah, so, weight, bad health, bad mental health, no money. I think we were both stressed, but we were still a really solid unit together. So there was no problems between us. But we did come off of the scare with Cinder and her surgery just before the pandemic, and, just financially recovering from that too. Then we had the domestic stuff going on downstairs. And then, later on, we then had this whole financial move. So you have to pack everything that you own, put it in boxes, move to a new place. You got to find a new place first. I graduated, I had to get through school. I mean, it just, all of this shit just going on. I don't even know how to explain it. Just the stress.
It's just insane to think of all the stuff and all of the intense life changes that happened in just to us.
Yeah. In
the span of 2.5 years.
Yeah.
I graduated, you graduated, we both got jobs, we got married, we moved, all of this other stuff. It's insane. And to think that it all happened underneath this umbrella of the pandemic.
Yeah.
I mean, my graduation, no, but
it was on the tail end of it.
And it just...
beginning, rather.
Yeah. And it's crazy seeing the aftermath of it. I mean, say your blessings if, you came out with your family unscathed on that one. But it's like, it's just... It's crazy just thinking about such a loss of opportunity with a lot of things. And like we said, we won't make it political, and we won't even try to make it too Debbie Downer of, the loss of life and all that. But
yeah,
I mean, even for a lot of people, just for other general life things, we didn't do a fancy wedding, but I know that to do large scale weddings, that's a lot of planning in advance. People's weddings were ruined, canceled, all that.
Other education systems that wouldn't be able to handle the pandemic.
Yeah, other schools closed.
All employment.
Students missed out on their graduation. You did. You didn't have a graduation ceremony.
I was never able to walk, didn't even get a gown, never got the tassel.
Yeah.
That was taken away from me, and I'm still bitter about it.
Just kids in high school, they miss their proms and their high school and their
seeing
sports seasons,
friends.
and just so much is taken away from you, and businesses close, and people have to sit here and try to adapt as fast as possible to figure out what's going on with so much. And it just goes to show you, I mean, at the end of the day, like we're saying, everything will persist. Things are fine. It's a shift in the world. It's not like it was gonna turn into an apocalypse or anything like that. But it sucks. We're emotional beings, and that's something that happens. But at the end of the day, majority of the world is fine, and we're going forward. And now it's just kind of sitting and looking at the aftermath of where are we? What's next? What's on the horizon?
Well, you said something about the adapting to the beginning of the pandemic, and that's something that I wanted to mention too. You had to adapt in the beginning to this whole new lifestyle because we don't know how long it was going to take. Now we know it's still going on for 2 years.
Yeah.
And you have to unlearn everything.
Yeah.
All of the habits, your sleeping habits, your eating habits, your emotionalisms of being cooped in. You have to redo everything. And I'm just in the past month, I mean, you know how I had to go get a special alarm clock, like an actual alarm clock instead of using my phone, to deliberately learn a habit of waking up early for work.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just insane seeing what's going on. And a lot of it, too, isn't even bad. There was I'd say there were a lot of opportunities for people out there, and there's definitely, always got to find the silver lining. And I think those people that did adapt or did take advantage of it, I mean, good for them. Kind of wish I did a little bit more as well, but being employed and, thinking that this will be a good path, I think I'm fine. But I know I had one coworker that during the whole pandemic, they learned coding. They just learned how to program. And the job that he was with me, it's just kind of a stepping stone, in the meantime. Just learned how to code, just kind of people, I learned how to play the guitar. I learned how to make music. I learned how to do this.
That you could learn.
All the people that opened up their own business,
Or all the people who learned how to make bread.
Yeah, definitely wasn't us. We absolutely did not learn how to make bread, and I don't think we ever will.
I don't either. Because I will probably be the one having to learn how to make it because you don't do all the cooking.
I sure don't. And I definitely do not do any of the baking. So we're not going to be doing that one. But yeah, kind of insane of just kind of, where does that then lead? The whole world is this kind of butterfly effect of all these people now realizing, I can do this hobby or whatever that I like. And as long as I market properly, I can make plenty of money. And I mean, we're not going to get into the economics and the civics and all of that other stuff of businesses and whatnot. But I mean, it leads to the whole quote unquote great resignation that's happening right now. And you just kind of sit there and you're like, man, there's a large shift in the landscape of a lot of things that are happening with the world and employment and just how the world works, work from home, don't work from home, small business, big business, entertainment, no entertainment, kind of where we're sitting on this one, or movies. I mean, sitting here right now, I'm in I love consuming content. That's why I make content, is to kind of not give back, but it's like content from me saved me in so many different times that I feel like I should, take that torch from other people and just pass it along to be like, oh, these other
show
people
that you can start.
I can start my content and not do it for me, but do it for others. You know, I just really enjoy entertaining like that. So I love entertainment, but I'm just sitting here and I'm like, I haven't seen Shang-Chi. Eternals just came out. I haven't seen that. Haven't seen Venom 2.
Yeah.
Haven't seen like so many of these movies, and I really, really want to, but I can't bring myself to go to a movie theater.
God, there's still some things that, so to disclose, we are fully vaccinated, and you know, we plan on getting the booster shot too. But there are some things that still bother me. Like I'm pretty agitated by just people in general, that pre and post pandemic. I just don't like people a whole lot.
I was I'm a very indifferent person.
Yeah.
I literally don't give a shit, because at the end of the day I care about my core, and
yeah,
unless you did something to my core, go do you.
Yeah.
Darwinism the fuck up.
Whatever.
I don't give a shit. But afterwards I was like,
I hate people.
If there is anything I hate more, it is blatant stupidity and ignorance, and all the pandemic did was show me is that 70% of the world is just blatant stupidity and ignorance. And I'm like, I hate everybody now.
Yeah. Well, in what something that I'm still finding myself adapting to is specifically the grocery store, because that was like the only thing I could go out and do. Can't go on Target trips unless it's mandatory. Nowadays, yeah, you can, but in the beginning you couldn't. And so all the grocery stores that we had around us had the little arrows on the floor to direct traffic in some capacity, so you didn't have a lot of I don't know, but you know, trying to keep people in a uniform way. And I have always hated people.
Smart in concept, stupid in practice.
Absolutely. But I've always hated people who just get too close to you. I love my personal space. Get away from me. And now the pandemic has really reinforced. I'm like, I want at least 6 feet. Like, get away from me.
Yeah.
And
it just makes you hyper conscious of kind of your own area.
Well, and when people cough, and they don't do it in their arms, and when they sneeze, I mean, you're just so aware of these things now. I was never one of those like, oh my God, they're coughing, they have COVID. It's more like, you're gross.
Yeah, I was never worried of like, oh, I'm gonna get COVID, because it's like, if I get it, I get it.
Which
like,
we never had, by the way.
At the end of the day, well, we don't know that, but
yeah, well, we never showed symptoms if we did.
Yeah,
but
at the end of the day, it's like, if you get it, you get it. Like, whatever. Yeah. And seeing the coughing and the whatever, it truly is just kind of like who raised you? Yeah. Like, a cow? Like, what are you, like, come on. What are you just like, especially now, you think you would learn. Yeah. But again, ignorance and stupidity. So I'm just kind of like, ugh.
I just remember there was this one moment. I was with Liv, and we went in a grocery store for something. And I had visited her in Dublin, and the Dublin grocery store had the arrows on the floor, and we were coming down in extremely tight aisles. You know, like how they have the gift.
Not in Dublin, Ireland.
Yeah,
we didn't
over there.
We didn't take a quick giant eagle trip.
We have Dublin. Never traveled ever, actually. But it was one of those really tight aisles where they have like all the groceries, or the card aisles where they're just unnecessarily tight. We were in and out kind of a thing. And we were walking down this aisle, and it's not like we walk next to one another. We were pretty single file. And this big dude comes up, and he just like expected us to move over. And we were going down an aisle in the appropriate traffic way. And I just kind of like stopped and looked at him, because I got a mask on. I just raised my brows, and he's like, oh my God, get out of the fucking way. And I'm like, you honestly, like, what is your damage? I'm going down the right way. I'm keeping my fucking distance. Mind your own business. It was just so like, that summarizes every interaction that I've had with everybody in the pandemic. It feels like it. Obviously it isn't, but it was just so,
that behavior is just so, it's just infuriating.
The aggression that came from it, like the heightened emotions. I am absolutely so much more emotional than before. You know, I think it's because I've just been caged in. No, you can totally agree to it. I've absolutely just been so like, wow, you know, because it's been a lot. I've I haven't grown in like 2 years. What do you do? Well, and on top of that, so when we moved into the home that we're in now, a few months in, I get pneumonia.
That was fun.
I never felt close to death before until I got pneumonia. And that was terrifying. There's been times where I've pulled like a muscle in my lower back and I was, whatever, it'll like go away. This didn't. I'm calling my dad and I'm like, wow, I have this pain in my rib. It almost just feels like a fractured rib or something. And I start to get concerned and I'm telling G, I'm like, I don't know what's going on with me. I've never felt this before. Tell my parents, I'm like, maybe you should go get checked out. Sleep on it or whatever. We end up going to the hospital.
Yeah, 1 hospital visit and 2 prescriptions later. She's got late stage pneumonia. I'm like, oh, good.
We were at the hospital. So we decided to go pretty late in the night because I was just like, I can't handle this. I couldn't lay down. I couldn't breathe. It felt like my fucking lung was collapsing. And I'm panting, literally panting. And I couldn't breathe. And G was awesome. He like packed a hospital bag. We were ready to go. He drove me over to urgent care. They're like, sorry, we can't help you. So we're like, all right, fuck it, to the ER. So then we go over to the ER. They
I have the utmost respect for medicine because there was a slight inclination that I wanted to do it, and I also knew a few people that were in medicine. But man, you'd think that with how much training and how much education you need with medicine, you'd at least go to 2 places that say the same thing. I think we went to like 4 places and that were like, oh, you have a hernia. Oh, you have a collapsing lung. You have a slipped disc. You're just sick. Rib. It could be COVID. You have pneumonia. It's like not a single person said the same thing as someone else for what was wrong with you. No. And I was like, oh, that's great. You might as well just say that her toenail fell off or something like that.
Yeah.
That's why her back hurts.
Oh my God, it was so bad. It was so incredibly bad. And, I thought we were in the clear after moving from all this bad luck and maybe the pandemic was kind of slowing down and then I get hit with this pneumonia. And I don't even want to talk about the bill from that, and the situation with that is just, I'm not even touching. That's in my chest and I'm throwing that one.
Yeah.
Nope.
Put that. All right, here we go. We got the chest back somehow. Came from the core. It's just got some lava on it.
We're just making
steamy.
Another one.
I found it. I can open it. Go ahead, put that in there, and back it goes.
But yeah, so, just bad. And when we got engaged, you proposed to me in December of 2020. So, that was, woo!
I wanted to throw up.
That was the start of something good. And this will probably come in like a wedding talk episode, but we didn't have a lot of money. Really at all, because we were still on grants income and we were trying to save because now we have a pandemic. I'm employed now, so it's fine. But anyways, so we were just being cautious with our income and all that kind of stuff. But I had so many people from every aspect, your family, my family, specifically mine, whatever. Everyone was telling me what to do with the wedding, and that was probably the reason why we did what we did in the court. Because it was simple.
We'll get into that more. Wedding.
But anyways, it was just so much stress on top of the whole year that I experienced before. My family, they're very wealthy and they're very well off. It just felt like a fever dream for them. It was just like, oh, it's fine. Like, we can just go do whatever we want. Meanwhile, I'm struggling and all this shit. And now I've got pneumonia and like all this stuff, right? And then wedding stuff finalizes.
Man, you just went on a whole... We were in the grocery store and now all of a sudden we're here.
We never got to like the end of the story and where we are. Wedding stuff finalizes and I start applying for jobs, and I apply for 30 plus jobs because I'm seeing like the market's looking good. Before, when you would look on websites like Indeed, the pool wasn't good. And I hold myself to a standard that I wanted something better than just a fast food Starbucks job. No shame in that. It's just that I paid for a degree and I wanted to apply it somewhere. And I want to be able to contribute to my family and try to play catch up with Grant. You know, I want to try to match his income in some capacity. And I did. I did it. I got it. At least in benefits, I am meeting you there. But, you know, applied for jobs and there was a lot of people saying, no, we don't want you, go away. Or we already filled the position. And then there was a long interviewing process and I landed the fucking job. And it's got the best benefits that I've ever heard of. The pay is pretty damn good. Awesome environment. Super happy, right? And then we have the wedding and all is good in the land. So that's where we are.
Yeah. And I mean, if you're going to take anything from this, it's just that, you know, it's hard. By no stretch of the imagination was it not hard, and is it still not difficult?
Yeah.
So just keep persevering. Look for any opportunity that you can to, you know, better yourself, better your future, better your opportunity, and good things will come if you always make sure to keep up that, you know, perspective on what your life can do, or just figure out things that you're able to do. Something will happen that just really, really helps you out in the long run. And sometimes it can even be things that you're not even looking at. I mean, some of the best things that happened to me were just no intention, no correlation, just kind of,
yeah, here it is.
Yeah, here you go. And you're just like, wow, you know, it's really jumping on those opportunities and making sure that you can make the most of them.
Well, and to also have a plan B, you know, yeah. I feel like this is one of those things that we will always
learn to code
and always have toilet paper in the house.
Oh my God.
You know, it's just one of those things that you always will have to kind of prepare. And in this case, always have really good savings so you can financially support yourself. Be able to adapt.
Just do your best in regards to that, because I know that we were hit pretty hard with it, but we're
lucky.
We were fortunate. I know that, you know, even having a little bit of money in your savings account is difficult, and being able to do any of that stuff is incredibly difficult. So just, you know, if you were able to make it by right now, just pat yourself on the back. You did something that a lot of people were not able to do, and something that people in the future won't even have to do.
Yeah.
Like if you graduated high school or college or your master's or your doctorate, or I mean, got a new job, got promoted, did, you know, something that was impressive, started a business, you've done one of the hardest things that you could ever do right now, which was start something and make something positive for yourself when the world felt like it was just in utter turmoil. Yeah. So, you know, just pat on the back and hats off to you on that one. So,
yeah. Well, and even if you haven't felt like you fully recovered either, keep going day by day. Like,
still
take
a lot of time.
And there's always, absolutely, you know, I would say that the numbers are even proving it. It's getting better, and take care of yourself and keep social distancing. And, you know, you don't have to get vaccinated if you don't want to. We think it's a good idea, but, you know, hang in there, I guess.
Hang in there, kitty. You'll get there someday. But yeah, I mean, in regards to just our story, that's kind of where we're at, and really just wanting to be like, hey, you can do it. But I mean, there's a lot of stuff, like we were saying, outside the world that is just crazy to think of in regards to businesses and games and just kind of stuff like that. It's insane to think that there's, you know, in such a technological world now, that there's people that have every opportunity to work for those giant companies that they've always wanted to, and they can just do that in their basement, just indefinitely. You know, Twitter and Google and all those other places of just being like, you want to work from home? Just do it. Have fun. Have a blast.
Well, I feel like all the businesses had to establish a way of, you had to be able to work from home. They had to establish that. And since they created systems that worked, which is what's starting the whole boom of like, people don't want to go to workplaces because they can go and walk their dog if they need to and still be on their Zoom call. They can set up their crock pot and still be able to be at home and do their chores in between. And honestly, when you have a corporate America job, there's so much dead time in between what you're actually doing for work. It's a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, given it depends, there's obviously a spectrum.
No, I agree. I mean,
people are seeing that and they're calling bullshit.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't like working from home. That's just me. We already established how that is. Yeah. But from just a little bit of time that was there, the opportunity for working from home and the benefits that you can receive from that just indirectly is insane. Although, sometimes some people, they're less distracted by working at home. Yeah. Your food is just right there. I want to prep dinner for the night at lunch.
Fitness equipment.
There you go. I have my fitness equipment here. I'll go for a run on my lunch break, or my lunch is just 2 steps away in the cabinet, or my laundry is done. Time to do that. Yeah. And then probably what I thought was the most important one, there's no commute time and there's no commute cost. I didn't have to pay for gas for a week and a half.
Global pollutions went down significantly.
Yeah, because people don't have to drive everywhere. People don't have to take the time to drive everywhere and go, 20, 30, 40 minutes back and from work. Mm-hmm. So it's like, that's huge. You can increase your productivity because maybe you could just get into work earlier because work is in your basement.
Yeah.
It's just kind of crazy to think of how that was, and then to also see some people or some corporations, not only did they stay the course but improve. It's insane to think of certain aspects of life where you'd think that type of thing would be huge, like online sales or video games. Like, it's crazy to
streamers.
Yeah, it's crazy to think that video game companies, developers and stuff like that, all their employees went home. They had to take all their programs and all their know-how, and they had to develop a video game with tons of people at their own homes trying to coordinate this, that, and the other. When it's such a collaborative effort, it's crazy to think that they're able to do that and then have their meetings just on a screen.
Yeah. Well, and something that I will say, though, is I don't think a lot of the companies had a good response to people wanting to work at home, because now, given I like to play devil's advocate, I understand why they did this specific thing that I'm going to mention, and it makes sense. They start docking your pay and they start docking your benefits, because they're like, if you want to stay at home and not use our resources or whatever, we're going to literally remove things from you. If you're in and they would change your pay based off of where you lived for living wages too. That was really popular in kind of bigger cities or stuff like that. It was whoa. Yeah.
For employers that were in New York and people commuted from New Jersey or something like that. If you were in New Jersey, they docked you by $3 an hour. And it was
which that's substantial.
Well, I mean,
for
it's
people,
substantial for the difference of living in between Manhattan and anywhere else in New Jersey.
But yeah, I don't know. That's just crazy. But then again, I also understand too the boom of people not wanting to.
It's tough
to work anymore. But I think this is going to be a really hot take, and I welcome any discussion about it. It's not something that we should fight about in the comments, but. The people that can just up and say, I don't want to work in the office anymore are extremely privileged. And I don't think they recognize the privilege that they have to be able to just be like, I don't want to be in the office anymore. I quit my job.
Absolutely.
I think that's the dumbest shit that I've ever heard.
I kind of agree with a lot of, unless they found something else that they want to do, again, that still shows their privilege.
Another desk job that you can just do remotely at home?
No, I'm saying kind of the people that started their own business, did their own, things and sort of stuff like that. Yeah. I mean, starting to show and starting to recognize a lot of people, because what a lot of people were doing with TikTok and Twitter and, all of these other social media platforms is people... As much as you're not wanting to, you're always making a commentary or making something, and with any of your posts, even if you're not wanting to, people see that. And I know that in the early days of Twitter for me, I always used it for just kind of scream to the heavens. Just
Yeah.
like, I don't need a response. I don't care who listens. I just need to say it somewhere.
Yep.
And
That's why
some
I made a
people-
private Twitter, because everyone has a fucking opinion and I don't want a response.
Yeah. And sometimes people say that and they do it in their Twitter. And what the trend became was a lot of people, you know, like, oh, here comes this
Attacking.
trend of, no, not attacking, but just talking about their work and sitting there, and you start recognizing trends of like, so everywhere here is like, everyone's underpaid for what you do. And you kind of sit there and you're like, oh, you know, you see the code word of like, you'll be wearing multiple hats. It's like, oh, so that means you want me to do the job of 3 things and only get paid for 1.
Yeah.
And you sit
Maybe
there and you're like,
a half of one.
you know, you kind of sit there and you go, I could sell stickers and prints or make random shitty mugs at home on Etsy and get paid exactly the same amount to do something fun.
Now, here's a question for you. We'll just take that whole premise, right, of the people who are realizing they're getting underpaid in the multiple hat kind of a thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
How many people do you think were able to negotiate better pay? Because I always think of the college situation. Do you have a degree behind you? Does that help you negotiate? Like, how do you think that comes into play with it? Does that make sense?
I mean, I think that's going to be the newest unwritten taboo of kind of like sharing your pay was always the unwritten, like, oh, well, don't tell people that. And it's like, why? So that you can find out
that we're all
so that we can find out that we're all being underpaid, or that person's getting paid more than me to do the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like, no, I'm going to find out.
Which
like,
legally, you are absolutely, whoever says it's illegal in the United States, at least, it's not. It's completely legal.
Yeah.
Even under private practice.
Yeah. And I think that might be one of the unwritten, the newest wave of the unwritten taboo that they don't see of, you know, at first it was just kind of, where are you? Are you educated or not? You know, that was way back in the day of like, are you educated? Yes. Oh, well, you'll get the job. We're not marking it as a requirement, but you know, if you're educated,
same with vaccines.
You'll probably, well, I'm getting there. Stop cutting me off.
Well, I didn't know you were going there. Sorry.
So of just like I'm educated. And that's like, let's say maybe like 50s, 60s, 70s, something like that. Oh, I'm educated. So then it turns into like, you know, the real big problem of the gender and race and all that other stuff. And it's like, oh, well, if you're in maybe, well, and now, oh, that's on your application now, you know, okay, you know, we can't do that. And now I think the modern day is are you vaccinated? Are you willing to work in the office? What are you looking to get paid? You know, kind of that whatever. And that's the behind the closed door, you know, very secretive kind of like, all right, Jim, we want to hire you, but are you vaccinated? Are you willing to like whatever, like you're going to need to do this if you want to be able to, it's like, all right, cool. We'll get that taken care of and squared away. But I mean, that happened
with me, with my interviews. They didn't outright ask, but the job that I knew that I wanted, it's an environment that you need the vaccine, we'll say. Yeah. And I made sure to, when I kind of got into my second and third interview, that I was like, oh, by the way, you know, I am vaccinated, but what's your office protocol for cleanliness? You know, throw it out there and then have a little discussion. It was just a little side conversation in there. And I think that also helped kind of tell them where I am.
I mean, it's the newest form of something in your interview, or something that it's just kind of like, oh, we need to have this, that, or the other. And as much as I said, you know, take those opportunities wherever you go, I agree with you of the privilege of being able to just up and leave or do something like that. You know, a lot of the people that are coming out of this pandemic scot-free are people that were scot-free before the pandemic even happened.
That they never had a problem in the first place.
Exactly. There's a lot of, you know, stories that you can go ahead and research of just really that first few months of the pandemic was just an if you had money, now you have tons of money if you were able to jump on that opportunity. And it's a difficult slope, and I don't think that, you know, maybe this is finally sending the message of the workplace talk with your wallet, as we like to say with gaming, kind of like, oh, we don't like this, so don't buy it. Well, we don't like our working environment, so we all quit.
Yeah.
Again, it's not an apocalypse. This is just going to be a change of whatever, and we'll adapt eventually. But I think it will definitely breed change, and I feel that the people that went to go do their Etsy shops or whatever, I mean, it's short-sighted.
Yeah.
But
well,
hey, it's something.
I will say too that America didn't handle this well, but I will say we are very fortunate to be in America because we will start to have this change of appropriate wages. We're kind of catching up to the rest of the world slowly, yeah. I hope. But one last thing that I do kind of want to bring up, because, you know, we've been talking about this for a minute. Thank God for TikTok.
Thank God for TikTok and Animal Crossing and all the people that made entertainment or anything out there that was just
streamers and YouTubers.
Oh
and,
my God.
I mean, all of that. Truly, I think TikTok and Animal Crossing were the things that got me through majority of it, right?
If you have someone out there, whether it's a family member, an entertainer, an anything, I know it sounds stupid, but go on a platform, comment on a post, tweet them or post them directly and just say thank you.
You know what? This is what I want to do.
Like, that'd be great.
Artists always have to like support the artists, right? Comment below artists that you think you should see. I think I'm going to make a post that's like, comment somebody who helped you through the pandemic.
Yeah. Like,
I think that sounds like
I think that's something
awesome.
I think that's something that is so underappreciated and something that I always it's always my fallback for a lot of, I won't mince words here, douchebags that are always like, oh, you have an art degree, or oh, you do creatives. If your stuff is worthless, you contribute nothing. It's like, all right, cool. What do engineers and doctors and all that other motherfuckers do whenever they get home after a long day of work?
Oh, and, wow, they consume
look,
content.
Here's my laundry list of things that they do. Oh, they're in the operating room listening to music? Let me just take that music away from you really quick.
Yeah.
Oh, you want to hang out with your son and bond with him over a movie? Nope, gone.
Well, let me actually take away everything that the doctors learned through textbooks because artists drew the illustrations.
Yeah.
You are not allowed to have your education either.
You want to bond with your son over a football game? Nope, the production
You want
crew.
the nice looking car? Oh, wait, no, but somebody designed that for you.
Yep.
Oh, the furniture that you sleep on? No. Your aesthetic that you have? No.
Well, I mean, even just the huge, like the bare bones of art. Because I mean, at the end of the day, they're still manufacturing and engineering and cars and furniture. I'm talking about literally like,
well, it starts with design.
I know it starts with design. I'm just saying what is to the core art. And that's music, and that's movies, and that's games, and that's television, and that's where it all
creation
of just what I'd say majority of the whole process originates from the creative process and being able to do that. Like it you take it all away and you won't be able to do it. Like it's just gone. Like, oh, you don't do anything. Oh, really? I don't. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. But that being said, though, fuck TikTok. I'm in TikTok rehab, but I need to get off of TikTok.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Wow. TikTok got me through. It was like, you know what? I really liked having those few drinks here and there, really took the edge off, and now I'm a crippling alcoholic. And I need to go into...
I think I just need to go cold turkey and delete the damn thing off my phone.
Oh my God. It's like, man, this shit is so funny. Where did 3 hours just go?
Honestly. Oh my God.
But yeah, if you guys could do that, go ahead and tweet or send something to someone that you love. You know, I like Tim the Tat Man. Maybe I'll send him a little thing, or someone, maybe an artist that I really listen to a lot, or you know, anything. Maybe it was a family member that kept your spirits high.
Yeah.
Maybe it was your employer that, you know, kept you employed. Something
I doubt
like
that they're listening, but shout out to Jackie, Dimitri, and Sasha for helping me through with all their beautiful art. Love you guys.
Yeah.
Y'all are so fucking talented. And Liv and Alex too for being supportive and understanding, and obviously you and
that's me.
Shout out to the cats.
Shout out to kitties. None of them are down here, thank God. No Cinder interruptions today.
No, don't say her name.
Oh,
she will be summoned.
Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of where we're at on this one. We wanted to end at least on a happy note. I know that this is a much different kind of vibe to the shows that we've been doing, and like we've been saying.
Topic.
Yeah, and like we've been saying in a few of the other shows, you know, we're not sitting here to be mainly entertainment or mainly games. We want to be more entertainment, lifestyle, and just talk about anything. So we figured might as well be a good enough time as any to just kind of relate with everybody and be like, hey, we're not invincible. You know, things always happen. And at the end of the day, if you are all right and you are in your good health, I think everything will be all right, and you will be able to make it through and adapt.
Yeah.
You know, if you're able to look for the long run of, you know, you have your short goals into your long goals, and you can just keep a positive mind frame as much as you possibly can, I think everything will be fine for you. And that's pretty much where we're trying to lead you to, or at least give some positive vibes with at least giving you some background, kind of on where we're at right now.
The classic hang in there.
Yeah, hang in there.
The little kitty on the branch poster. Just hang in there.
Hang in there, kitty.
You got this. Stick around.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, and hopefully you guys are liking what we put out too for content wise, and maybe that's something that's just different for you to watch or whatever. But definitely, I too am still just getting around the curb, still trying to push through. So
took a few years, but here we are.
I'm still going through it. You know. Or moving through it, getting past it. So we all got this.
Yeah. And maybe down the line, if this is still all going on, we can
episode 2.
We can be another.
We were wrong.
We can be another source of entertainment or something and get your mind off of things. But in the meantime, thank you all so much for joining us on this one.
Stay hydrated.
We always appreciate you. If you enjoyed this or it was something enlightening to you, go ahead and leave a comment, say what your favorite part was, or say what was interesting, so that we can go ahead and gauge more feedback on where to take this show, since we're in the early stages of development on the channel. But like I said, if you liked it, leave a like, leave a comment, share it with a friend if they need to hear any type of positivity here at the end of the podcast. And make sure you have a good day. Keep that positive mindset.
Well, and look out on my socials for that post that I mentioned too. I would like to have that done on Friday, the day after this is posted. So look out for it. That way you can help tag some of your friends that help you through it, share a little bit of your story, see if you can find some good comfort if you are looking for it in those comments. So my socials, it'll be posted on Instagram and Twitter at Ookamarii, Ookamarii. But other than that, have a shoot for
awesome
a good day. All right. Well, I'm saying just shoot for okay.
All right. Well, today, wicked awesome. And then the next one, okay.
Yeah.
Just string a few okay days together and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
But yeah, stay hydrated. Have a great one.
Have a good day, friends.
Chins up, everybody. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.